congratulations on a great film. I
Thank you.
definitely enjoyed it. So what drew you to this story?
One of the, I think the main, okay, so the main thing that drew me to the story, besides the amazing subculture that it revolved around, was how much similarities I saw between the characters of Mouse and myself growing up as a kid in Santurce in Puerto Rico and in Bairoa. So being able to see what is life like in Puerto Rico represented almost the same way in a story that's in Baltimore really attracted my attention,
Mhm.
uh, because I felt like I was able to tell the story not just of Baltimore, of Puerto Rico, but also the story that a lot of disenfranchised youth go in marginalized communities when hitting that time in your life as a teenager when you feel like you have to grow up and be a man too quick,
Right.
and being able to break down those tropes and those elements of toxic masculinity and and the streets in a coming of age drama. I felt like it was exactly the message that I want to pursue.
So how familiar were you with the dirt bike culture in Baltimore before you started filming?
Well, the my main entryway was the same documentary in which the Charm City Kings is based, which is 12 O'Clock Boys. I
Mhm.
think that was my first entryway into the bike life culture. I saw other things that came up from the New York Times, and in Puerto Rico we have our own bike culture in a way. It's different, but you have a lot of daredevils that do amazing tricks on them as well, but nothing like what I experienced in Baltimore. It was the closest thing to a block party that I have seen,
Yeah.
uh, where everybody is in there for everybody. Like there's this sense of family, and then later you find out like yeah, there are rival gangs that participate, but there while we ride, there's no guns up, and that for me was powerful.
So within the film, you use both professional actors and people directly from the bike world. Like,
Yeah.
what was it like trying to film those two separate things and kind of bring it together into one cohesive film?
Well, for me, one of the most important elements that I try to pursue on my filmmaking is immersion and authenticity. And there's no way to be able to achieve that without blending both.
Mhm.
I feel one of the north stars that we had moving forward was that we wanted the community and the culture to be as involved as we could within the constraints of a filmmaking, uh, in the construction of the story and the authenticity of the characters.
Mhm.
Back home with other projects that I have worked in Puerto Rico, I have worked with many non-actors. It's an element that I feel very comfortable. So here it was my first time actually working with professional actors and seasoned talent, and I learned a lot from them, as they often taught all the other non-actors as well, and
Mhm.
being able to see how they both complemented each other. They
Right.
feed off each other. Like, yes, these guys are professional, but they're like sponges. They will feed off the energy that you give, but they also have the the professionalism of being able to anchor the scene and help them get to the emotional point that needs to happen. So being able to see that happen and take place really made the experience way easier,
Mhm.
because the naturality that the talent from Baltimore are gonna give you, it's exactly what you want. So it allowed us, it kept us in check in
Mhm.
terms of keeping the story right, in terms of representing Baltimore correctly.
What was the most challenging part of filming Charm City Kings?
Well, I guess for me personally, the most challenging part was getting used to kids' hours.
Mm.
Um, the works I've done before, we've had a lot of grace working with kids. Um, but in this case, that notion of like, yeah, we're gonna, we have all these days to shoot. We have 12-hour shoots. This is gonna be amazing, and then getting hit in the face with the fact that, yeah, with kids it's 9 hours, but because this is during school hours, then we need 3 hours for school, then 1 hour for lunch, so you really have them for 5 hours. And I'm like, okay, this is like shooting for half the time. So that challenge allowed us to get creative and develop a shot list that not only went with our creative vision, but also allowed our creative vision to work in tandem with the budget and schedule constraints.
So what's the one thing you really hope that viewers take away from this film?
I guess the main thing I hope viewers take away from this film is that Baltimore and other marginalized communities and the disenfranchised youth that lives in them, we're not all what the news say about us. I understand what sells, but we're more than violence. We're more than crime. We're more than poverty. There's a lot of hopes and dreams in each and every community that if we only gave them the opportunity and we only gave them the resources to be able to pursue those dreams, we wouldn't be facing a lot of the issues that we have. And with that goes the lack of the addressing the lack of mentorship, and also calling us uh, holding ourselves accountable to be the mentors we hope to be for the future. So being able to talk about mentorship, being able to talk about opportunities, and being able to talk about how toxic masculinity affects our decisions growing up as boys and pretending to be this version of a man that is not good for society, breaking those patriarchal structures, I
Right.
think is something that I hope. I know in the movie we don't really talk about it verbatim, but it's in there. A lot of
Right.
the decisions, if not every bad decision made in the movie, is by this fake perception or idea of what a man is supposed to be. And I
Mm,
think being able to be open, being able to be vulnerable as people of color, which is something that we're often taught not to be,
right.
it's something that we need to foster and grow fond of. Men can cry. Men can actually have feelings, and I mean, I'm like a grown ass man now, 37 years old, really understanding and accepting this notion, and it's very liberating.
So what legacy do you want to leave behind with your entire body of work?
Wow, that's a great, that's a really good question. I don't want to say address social issues because that's very broad, but I guess as a Puerto Rican, I want to be able to represent not just my country, but uh, every other colonized mind and world out there that we don't have to be what society, what the government, what the media says that we are. We have the right for self determination, we have the right for freedom, and we
Right.
have to be able to pursue those things. So, if there's anything that could be said in the future about my body of work, is that I, if I didn't condemn what was going wrong, at least I provided an opportunity or a vision of what a hopeful life would be outside of the colonial yoke. I mean, I never heard that question before, and that's a question to actually like walk and
Yeah.
sleep on it and be like, oh my god,
Yeah.
why am I doing what I'm doing? And it's true.
Yeah.
I we exist. I'm tired of people showing us the way they think we are
Right.
and not letting us tell the whole world who we are. It's time to own our stories, and it's time to unite and tell each other stories because our journey it's same. And I think that's the powerful thing.
Thank you. Right on time. Definitely appreciate you taking the time out to speak to me today. It was a pleasure.
Oh man, I thank you so much. That was great questions. Thank you.